hit back at the ex-Wayanad MP and accused him and his party of embodying the ideology of Jinnah, one of the key figures behind the partition of the country. Rahul Gandhi then defended the Muslim League, asserting that its secular nature and dismissing any claims of non-secularism. To which the BJP said that Rahul's remarks and his defense of the IUML is nothing but driven by political considerations related to his former constituency now, Wayanad. So why does the BJP think that this is nothing but political compulsion for Rahul Gandhi? They say it's because it's not just the Congress that needs IUML support for the Wayanad seat. Unfortunately for Rahul Gandhi, he is no longer an MP from there. But the alliance is also a significant part of the Congress's larger scheme of things. The IUML has had an alliance with the Congress in Kerala for 5 decades now. The IUML is also the second largest party in the Congress alliance in Kerala. It backed the Congress in the recently held Karnataka elections. The IUML did not contest there and supported all of the Congress's candidates. The IUML was also part of the DMK Congress alliance in 2021 elections in Tamil Nadu. An IUML leader, E. Ahmed, has served as an MOS for external affairs for 10 long years in the UPA government. That is the history between the two parties, between that alliance. So why has Rahul calling IUML secular turned into a political slugfest now? Let's look at the history of the Muslim League and its present political standing. That should give you some perspective. The Indian Union Muslim League is a political outfit that's based primarily in Kerala. The founding members, Muhammad Ismail and KMCT, had roots in Jinnah's Muslim League. The members who stayed in India formed the IUML in 1948. The government since then has been keeping a close watch on this league for a decade after its existence. In fact, the first Prime Minister of our country, Jawaharlal Nehru, had asked Lord Mountbatten to advise Ismail to abandon the idea of forming a party. We're learning there are some reports that speak of how Jawaharlal Nehru even dubbed the Muslim League as a quisling in Indian politics. Nehru hinted that the Muslim League's loyalty lies elsewhere and not to this country. It's the same party that the Congress is now in alliance with. There's a CBI report that accuses the IUML of planning the Kerala massacre of 2003 as well. In 2021, not too long ago, the Chief Minister of Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan, called this party highly communal. That's the past, that's the present of this particular party. Secular or not, that's up for debate. But the IUML has had its fair share of controversies like any other political party, let me say that. Let me just recount, though, some of the instances where controversy has been quoted by this particular party, at least in the last 4 years. 2022 is when the IUML said that it's dangerous for boys and girls to sit together in a classroom in school. A year before that, in 2021, the IUML opposed the government's move to raise women's legal marriage age that happened inside the parliament. In 2019, they opposed triple talaq. They said that the government's real intention was to create a distraction. In 2019, they opposed the 10% reservation bill for economically backward classes as well. In 2019, they instructed allegedly CAA protesters not to pay the UP government for the damages despite the court having asked them to do so. Which is why we now ask whether this entire controversy over Rahul Gandhi's IUML remark, is it about secularism or is it just a stunt? That's the big debate tonight.
Welcome, sir.
Muslim League is a completely secular party.
Right.
There's nothing non-secular about Muslim League.
मुस्लिम लीग को धर्मनिरपेक्ष कहना ये मानसिकता ज्यादा खतरनाक है।
वो मुस्लिम लीग है जिससे भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने नागपुर में गठबंधन किया था। ये वो मुस्लिम लीग है जिसको अटल जी पसंद करते थे।
So this kind of mindset of the Congress is an open statement of their vote bank politics that a Muslim League for them is secular.
Joining me on the debate tonight, spokesperson of the BJP, Rajiv Pandey, spokesperson of the Congress, Sujata Paul joins us, historian, Professor Kapil Kumar is with me, and Atikur Rahman, Islamic scholar, also joins us on this broadcast. But I'd like to begin by asking Sujata Paul of the Congress party. Sujata Paul, Rahul Gandhi says that there is nothing non-secular or unsecular about the IUML. But let me read out what the IUML website, the organization, the political party's website in itself says. They say the IUML operates on the political ideology of a strong emphasis on a pro-Muslim community. The Muslim League Kerala State Committee is the only Muslim community catering organization that has maintained a steady presence in the Indian Parliament. So a party that talks about emphasis on one particular religion, can you call them secular then?
Can you call the Bharatiya Janata Party secular then? But the irony of this whole thing is that today the word secular is being accepted by the BJP as being secular. And they're questioning whether the IUML is secular or not. But definitely one thing is there, that Nehruji, because he questioned the Muslim League which was formed after partition in 1948, now BJP is accepting Nehruji's greatness as well. So that those are the two good things which have happened. But let me remind you that a secular party is a party which will obviously talk about its own community or its people or its region, but that does not mean that they are going to spread hatred against another religion. That is what being secular is all about. The party which talks about secularism in such, in the manner in which Bharatiya Janata Party does, I can only say that they have short-circuited in their brains. And just like they equated Bajrang Dal with Bajrang Baliji, they are equating India's Muslim League with Pakistan's Muslim League because they love the Pakistanis. And that is why they're doing it. However, they were in power in the Nagpur municipality because they were 11 seats short at one point of time. So they allied with the IUML. So let us just remember that this country is secular and the election commission is where this party needs to go to and the chiller troll needs to go to ask why is it that there are 3 Lok Sabha MPs and 1 Rajya Sabha MP from the IUML. Is it not an Indian party? Or are they trying to say that Indian parties are non-secular? Are they accepting that they are communal?
Sure, and I'll have the BJP spokesperson respond to that. Rajiv Pandey is with us on this broadcast. But Sujata Paul, let me, to you and to everybody else on this panel, let's please maintain decorum and not use personal attacks against anyone, and let's stick to the subject at hand. But Rajiv Pandey, while you accuse the Congress party of, or Rahul Gandhi, of attaching the tag of secular to the IUML, are you conveniently forgetting the time you wanted to rule in the municipal corporation in Nagpur and that's why you decided to join hands with the IUML? Isn't that a valid question to ask?
No, Poonamji, if BJP had joined hands with IUML or not, that is not the debate. BJP had joined hands even with Mahbooba Mufti for some time in Jammu and Kashmir. The issue is not that. The character cannot be lost because BJP had joined. There are 2-3 aspects, as you have rightly in your opening comments in your report. You have categorically stated everything which was very good for the people of this country to judge that who was the founder of IUML. And now why Congress party is going and talking gaga about the Indian Muslim League? You know, a Congress spokesperson is saying that Muslim League of Pakistan, this is completely wrong. That Muslim League was formed in India to divide this country and they have succeeded. And then they created Pakistan. After that, that member of that party only, Muhammad Ismail, formed this organization. And what in your report said, even Nehruji was not liking this kind of things. Today, Congress has gone long way from 1947 to 2023, in which the party which was responsible, their ideology. What is party, ma'am? Poonamji, what is party? A party is can be understood by their ideology. What is the ideology? What was the ideology of Muslim League, which divided this country? And on the same ideology, Indian Union Muslim League only name was changed. I'll tell you, when Sheikh Abdullah first formed the party, Muslim Conference, but the moment he realized, he changed the color and made it National Conference. It is like that. The issue is why Rahul Gandhi is going and talking all these things in USA. I'll tell you the reason, very simple. First, he is talking to his funders. He was talking to his funders to get more funds. That is one. Because whenever he goes out of this country, he talks ill about the country. So first is the funder. Second, his constituency. Now he has lost, I think, out of 80 seats. Congress party cannot contest any seats election on any seats of the Uttar Pradesh or Bihar.
Exactly.
Sure,
or
so
Madhya
this is
Pradesh
out
or
of
Delhi.
appeasement
So
is what the BJP says. Sujata Paul, you wanted to come in.
he
Go
is
ahead.
going
Before I get in the
there,
other two
yes,
gentlemen on the
just
panel.
for-
Go ahead, Sujata Paul.
To win a
You
seat.
know,
To win a seat.
dare
Sure,
the
you made your
Prime
point,
Minister
Rajiv
to
Patel.
go-
Sujata Paul, go ahead.
I dare the Prime Minister to go abroad and say that the Muslim League in India is a non-secular party and it is a party which needs to be thrown out, or the people don't need to contest elections on their ticket. Let me be very clear that there are 3 Lok Sabha MPs and 1 Rajya Sabha MP in that parliament, which was inaugurated by the Prime Minister. Are you going to throw them out? It's up to
Poonamji,
you.
can you
Do
give me
it.
some time?
You have no, that you'll have to answer no why they are there. And let me also remind you that Bashir, who was the education minister of Kerala, he established the largest Sanskrit university in the country in Kerala, and he was part of this this particular party. So stop calling them non-secular. They are part of this country, and you keep talking about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Let's understand. It's not Sahib Ka Saath and Sahib Ka Vikas. It is Sabka, and Sabka includes every party which has been authenticated by the Election Commission to contest elections, and they're winning elections as well. That's why you had to hang on to them. Like in Meghalaya with 2 seats, you rushed to Mr. Conrad Sangma, who you were accusing of so many things. The two-nation theory was brought about by the
Poonamji,
Hindu
can I just
Mahasabha,
conclude my point?
Savarkar and Jinnah. So you are together in that. But also tell me, Sardar Patel was against RSS also, and he banned the RSS. He put Golwalkar in jail and Savarkar in jail. Did he or didn't he? So things change, no? But we have never derogated the RSS after that. It is now that you've come to that state where you become so communal and you polarize voters to such an
Poonamji,
extent
can I-
that you
can I
need to be
complete
called
my
out.
point?
Go ahead, Rajiv Patel.
Punamji, first of all, you know, Congress party is going and talking about the, giving certificate to the secularism and communal, and that too not in the country, outside the country. That is their job. But what I wish to say, even PFI before banning, when central government banned
talking about
Popular
PFI.
Front of India,
Where is he going?
before that, just
Why
one
did
second,
you
before
why
that,
did you
they
join
were-
the hands of
Sujata,
IUML in the
Sujata
Nagpur
Paul,
municipality?
I did
Can
not
you
disturb
tell us?
anybody.
Sujata Paul, you
Poonamji,
had
this
your
is not
time uninterrupted.
I
one at a
didn't
time.
disturb anybody. This is very
let him
unfair.
finish his point. I will come back to you.
I'm concluding. Senior historian is sitting. I just want to take 30 more seconds. Only I am saying one thing. The issue is PFI before banning. We're also contesting election. I am not talking about that whether IUML.
But that's irrespective. Let's not digress, Rajiv Pandey. The issue at hand is about the IUML, and I want to get in Professor
only
Kumar
for
as
one
well.
reason.
I want to
It
get
is
in
for
Professor
vote
Kumar
bank
as well,
politics.
because
It is
I
vote
want
for-
a historian's view of whether or not there is a
bank
difference or
politics
there
of the
isn't a
Congress
difference
party.
between Jinnah's Muslim League and the IUML, the present day IUML that we see. Because Professor Kumar, we've seen the kind of narratives that have come from both the political parties, but as a neutral voice, please tell our viewers, is there a difference or not? Is there anything to this debate at all?
I think I'll be given equivalent time which you have given to do
Absolutely,
these
sir.
persons. You see this, and I'll take a historical background and then I will say what I have to say in that. This Mohabbat Ki Dukaan was opened first time by Congress in 2016 when they did the Lucknow Pact with Muslim League and accepted separate electorates. The second step was in 1920-21 when they supported the Khilafat movement, which had nothing to do with India, and that's the time when Jinnah was secular and Jinnah had opposed Khilafat movement, saying it had nothing to do with India, and that secular Jinnah was converted into a communal Jinnah by the actions of the Congress. Please, Miss Dr. Paul, don't interfere me. Let me complete the things. Now, second thing, 1946.
And if you want to talk
Please
about
let me. I did.
Sujata Paul, nobody interrupted you when you had your time. Sujata
I want
Paul,
to debate with her
Sujata
like
Paul,
this.
I will have
Please,
to.
she should have the basic
Please,
decency of debate.
I request you to give Professor Kumar. He's a senior historian. Please give him his time. I will come back to you if you have any rebuttals to make. Professor Kumar, go ahead.
There were 13 Muslim parties in India led by Obaidullah from Sindh, which opposed the demand of Pakistan, but the Congress never bothered to take them in confidence. They always ran after Jinnah. In 47, Congress accepted partition of this country on communal lines. But now here comes the crux. Can you believe that a country which has been divided into India and Pakistan on the demand of Muslim League 25 representatives of the Muslim League after the creation of Pakistan remain in the Indian Constituent Assembly and sign the constitution, and after that many go back to Pakistan. And the others are absorbed by the Congress, some made MP, some made chairman, some made MLA. This is the secularism. Then what happens? In Kerala, the first communist government is disbanded, thrown out by Nehru. And after that, Muslim League does a very interesting thing. They split into two, tactically. So one becomes secular for the communists and the other becomes secular for the Congress. So say the very word Muslim League, you tell me, and then look at their demands. Let me ask this thing. When this teacher's hands were cut down in Kerala on a question paper thing, what was the stand of IUML? Tell me that. And that IUML demands Shariat to be imposed in Kerala. Is that secularism? What secularism Rahul Gandhi is preaching? And is Congress secular? Tell me what do they mean by secularism? Secularism means total break of religion with state. That is the definition of secularism. Secularism definition is not this, that you go on aligning with communal parties, whichever communal party is it, of any religion it may be, whether it is Muslim, Hindu or anyone. This is not a part of secularism. And they call, and tell me this answer please, this is the most crucial point which I have raised, that a country partitioned on religion and Muslim League's demand, how come their members remain a part of the Constituent Assembly and sign the Indian Constitution in 1950 and then go to Pakistan? What are they talking of? How many districts in Kerala today? Go and examine, send your reporters, constantly demanding Shariat to be imposed in Kerala. Any progressive step, you tell me. What was their stand on Shah Banu case? What was their stand on triple talaq? Their own women, how they treat. And they are calling themselves, and Rahul Gandhi giving them a statement of secular. What is Rahul Gandhi himself? Is he secular? Then why does he call himself a Janeudhari Brahman? Why does he run after temples? It is only vote banks. And this statement also is an appeasement statement for his politics. The lust of power in his mind is so much that he can do anything to try and come back in the power. That's his game.
Sure, whatever his motive may have been, or whether there isn't any, like the Congress says, but the moot point here is about why this entire controversy has been triggered in the first place, Atikur Rahman, is because of that word secular, which was used for the Indian Union Muslim League. Now, as far as the definition of secularism goes, like Professor Kumar was also pointing out, the fact is you have to be religion agnostic. You have to separate religion from state. So when a party then goes on to say that we primarily focus and we're centered around one particular community and their well-being, are they then secular? They may be a recognized party in this country by the Election Commission. They may have members of parliament. They have their right to be, but are they secular? That's the question we're trying to debate here.
So Poonam, if secularism means a party and all the parties who claim to be secular should be religion agnostic, then I do not think, you will be counting any of the Indian political parties to be secular. Point number one. Point number two is, if you regard a political party or an organization to be secular, I think the ideology and the literature of their party needs to be taken into consideration. And if you read the literature and the ideology of the Indian Union Muslim League, I do not find it to be a communal party. That is why in that context, it need to be counted to be secular, because the literature and the ideology of the Indian Muslim League is in this thing with the Indian Constitution. If it violates the Indian Constitution, if it says a particular group of people based on the issue of religion, caste, color, creed are not Indians or second-class Indians, then it is communal. Now look at the literature of the RSS or the Hindu Mahasabha. They do not recognize the Muslims and the Christians to be equal citizens, because the Muslims look towards the Kaaba and the Christians look towards the Vatican. They are
sure, but the RSS is not a political outfit.
Party which claims to be.
The RSS is not a political outfit.
The political party.
It's not contesting elections.
But they have members in the, in the government. The government of India consists RSS members into it. They are cabinet ministers. So are they communal or are they secular? By the yardstick of religion agnostic, no political party in India has a right to say that they are secular.
Sure. So as far as the constitution and the definition of secularism goes, Mr. Pandey, then nobody can claim high moral ground, neither can the BJP. That's the allegation against you. It's not a communal party, the IUML, because they have done a lot of work in the state of Kerala for the community, not just for the Muslim community, but several others. Several other minorities as well. That is on record. You can't deny that either. Can you then deny the kind of good work that they're doing and then push them into a corner of being communal?
Poonamji, what is the agenda of IUML? It is well known and the whole world knows this. Congress party also knows this very well, that what is the object. What is the reaction of IUML on the issues like triple talaq or halala or cutting hands or Sharia law is well known to all the people. The issue is why Rahul Gandhi is going and giving certificate to IUML as a secular party in America. That is the main question. We know IUML is the child of Muslim League of Jinnah.
He's a free man, sir. He's in the United States. He's on a personal trip there. He's meeting people. A question was asked to him about his alliance with the IUML. He's free to have his opinion, isn't he?
No, I am saying why he's doing, that's the main point, that even he's supporting Jinnah. Jinnah was created by Congress party. I am saying why. The reason is only one. To garner Muslim vote at any cost. Even at the cost of breaking the country. You know, at that time they supported Jinnah to become Nehru and Jinnah both partition the country to become Prime Minister. Today again Rahul Gandhi is doing the same.
But things have changed, like Sujata Paul pointed out. Like Sujata Paul pointed out, things have changed. Can you completely deny that?
Poonamji, electoral alliance and other things cannot change that what is the objective and ideology of a political party.
But it's a recognized political party in the country.
Why I'm saying how Jinnah was also dealing with Congress party. Jinnah was part of the Congress party. Is this true or wrong? Tell me. Jinnah was dealing with Congress party. When Jinnah was opposing Khilafat movement, all Congresses went to the work for Khalifa.
Sure, Sujata Paul, you had a rebuttal to make. Go ahead.
I think, there's something wrong with the entire BJP. Because what we are talking about is post-independence, we're talking about 2023. If IUML is a recognized party by the Election Commission, and there has been nothing found against
we all know that it's a recognized party. Certificate is being given by the Rahul Gandhi. That's the point.
Mr. Pandey, you had your time. Now she waited patiently. Let her have her say. Go ahead, Sujata Paul.
Let me tell you about the IUML, which was formed in 1948, and finally, and of course, they're right about Nehruji opposing them initially. But then RSS also had Golwalkar, Savarkar, everybody was put into jail by Sardar Patel. But that doesn't mean that RSS was not allowed to blossom in the country. And look where we've come today. But let's talk about IUML. Their founder's son actually joined the Indian Army when the Indo-China War of 1962 took place. Their Education Minister of Kerala, he founded and established the largest Sanskrit university in Kerala. Let me finish. You can listen. No, have the patience. Atal Bihari Vajpayee sent a minister of the IUML to Geneva. And I want to know if there are 4 MPs of IUML in the parliament. Is the Prime Minister inaugurating a parliament which has anti-nationals or which have people who are considered to be
I don't think Sujata Paul anyone called them that. I don't think anyone called them that. 30 seconds, 30 seconds, Rajiv Pandey. I need to get in, before I end this, I need to get in Professor Kumar as well. 30 seconds, Mr. Pandey.
I'm saying, nobody is saying that IUML is not a recognized party. It's a member of parliament. The issue is the objective. As Sujata Paul is saying, earlier they were bad, now they have become good. So let them ask what development has taken place in the ideology of IUML. Still they are supporting Sharia law. Still they are saying put the women behind the veil.
Sure.
बुर्का के अंदर रखो.
Sure, we all know the comments. We all know the kind of comments that have been made from all sides, the IUML in this case or any other political parties. But Professor Kumar, I'll let you have the last word on this debate. We're talking about whether or not a party is secular and why this entire controversy has come off Rahul Gandhi's comments in the first place. But like we've been discussing, there are members of parliament of this particular party who have sworn by the same constitution that every other member of parliament also does. They are recognized by the election commission as is every other political party. Professor Kumar.
You see, I am surprised at certain things. Sonia Gandhi is on record by congressmen saying that she cried for the Batala House incident. So Congress cries for terrorists also.
No, I have objections.
Please
But
don't
let's talk
interrupt
about.
in between.
But Professor Kumar,
Don't
no.
you may have any objection. If I am saying anything wrong, you interrupt me. I am
Professor
telling
Kumar,
you what congressman said.
Professor
Sonia
Kumar, I'm
cried at
interrupting you
Batala
because
incident.
I'm
Please.
very short on time.
That
which
is
why
your secularism. That is your secularism, and please don't interrupt between me because you have no answer. So you want
Professor
to
Kapil
debate.
Kumar,
You don't
Professor
have
Kapil
answers
Kumar,
to
let's stick to the
points which I raised.
point.
You
Let's
have
stick
never
to the
answers to
subject
that.
at hand, please.
Please, anchor madam, stop her.
Professor
Stop her
Kumar,
in between.
Professor
I didn't
Kumar,
intervene in her.
Sure.
Let me complete.
Sure,
Let
Professor
me
Kumar,
complete.
but I'm very
Let me
short on
complete.
time, so let's just stick to the point at hand, which is
Second
about the
thing,
IUML.
Second thing, let her know this thing. Let her know this thing that the two-nation theory was given by Sayyid Ahmad and she have not read. Let her go and read the book of Sayyid Ahmad Khan, Dastane-e-Gadar.
Sujata Paul, please, let's keep this civil.
Don't
Sujata Paul.
interrupt in between. You people are half-read
No,
people.
he's speaking lies.
Don't provoke me
He's
and don't
speaking
prove me
lies.
wrong. Don't prove
Don't
me.
threaten
Didn't
me.
Sayyid Ahmad Khan
Don't you
said
threaten
that they are,
me, understood?
please.
Don't
You see,
you
I won't
dare
debate with her.
threaten me.
Madam, I won't
Let's
debate
try
with
and
such
keep
kind
this
of
civil. I request Sujata Paul and the other three gentlemen on this debate.
Who don't know the facts, who only do dynastic
Okay, let's
slavery.
not get to name
I
calling.
won't-
I will
I
leave it
won't-
at
I won't
that.
debate
I
with
cannot
dynastic
encourage
slavery.
this going on between our
Who quit
panelists.
history and
Let's not get into this. We've had the controversy over Rahul
Why
Gandhi's
she
comments that were
interrupted
made
between- I never
in
interrupted
United
between.
States.
She doesn't have
I
anything
thank you
to
all for
say.
joining us here on this
Because she has
broadcast,
to
but I'll have to leave it at that. We cannot keep this going. We tried to have a civil debate, but the controversy, like I said, continues. On that note, we're slipping into a quick break here on the Sedition.
The Supreme Court is monitoring it. There's a police investigation going on. But this was the fact even when the rally was, announced. What has really changed is the fact that world bodies like the International Wrestling Federation and the Indian International Olympic Association, they have issued statements. Could that be a factor as far as Brij Bhushan's rethink is concerned?
Well, definitely there is a lot of pressure on the government at this point in time because the manner in which the wrestlers have carried out this entire movement, this entire protest, that has made a lot of headlines and that has actually brought a lot of embarrassment to the government, especially after the incidents that happened on the 28th of May, where all these international champions were in fact dragged by the Delhi police and were thrown inside the jail. In fact, they were detained for more than 12 hours. So yes, there is a lot of controversy and criticism that is ongoing against the government, and hence somewhere or the other the government and the administration actually at this point wants that this entire investigation should be done in a free and fair manner, and hence the noise around it should be muted, and that could be one of the reasons why the rally that was supposed to be conducted by Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh with cheers who would have come out in his support, that has been taken down because any sort of statements could have been made in that rally, and again that would have made headlines, and eventually that means that would have brought more questions to the administration and to the government. So this could be one of the reasons why this entire rally has now been postponed. So yes, the government is trying to make sure that this entire investigation happens in a free and fair manner. On the other hand, sources within the Delhi police have told us that they are in the last leg of the investigation, and over the next 10 to 15 days, we could expect some action from the Delhi police where they could actually go ahead and file a charge sheet in this entire matter, or if at all the charges are not found, then a final report could also be filed in the court of law. However, status reports are continuously being filed in front of the Supreme Court at this point in time. So yes, the investigation is ongoing, but yes, the kind of noises that is being made, that could actually divert the attention from the investigation, and hence it has now been decided that the rally that was supposed to be held on the 5th of May in Ayodhya has now been postponed. So yes, it remains to be seen as to when will be the next date of rally come up, and as to how quickly will the Delhi police finally conclude in investigation and file that charge sheet or the final report, whichever they deem it's necessary.
Right. Nikhil, this was meant to be a show of strength in support of Brij Bhushan Singh, isn't it? Have the wrestlers reacted when this rally was announced, and are they reacting now that the administration has decided to withdraw permission?
Well, this is the important question here, because after the incident which took place at the Har Ki Pauri Haridwar, 5 days time, as mentioned earlier as well, was sought by the Naresh Tiket as to what is going to be the further course of action from the wrestler side. But since that particular day, the wrestlers have gone incommunicative. They are not speaking to the media persons as well. In fact, we have spoken to a source who are part of that particular group. They have informed us that till the completion of the 5 days, the wrestlers are not going to be out in the public place. They are not going to appear in any of the Mahapanchayat. They are not going to speak in the public domain as well, or to any of the media persons as well. So as mentioned earlier, that today as well there is a big Mahapanchayat which is going to happen in Kurukshetra, Haryana, where the further course of action. And yesterday this was something which was announced by the farmers as well. And farmers are one such group who have extended their huge support out in the public domain to that of the wrestlers as well. And they are going to carry out the further shape of the overall protest. Yesterday as well we have heard the bite of Rakesh Tiket, where he clearly informed the public that if need be, they are going to yet again block the roads and borders of the national capital Delhi, which they have done at the time of 3 farm laws as well. And also they also have the option to plan a protest nationwide if their demands are not met. At the same time, they are also going to hold deputation to the President and Home Ministry as well. And clearly, Rakesh Tiket also informed that there has been a communication as well that if any of the delegation of Khap Panchayat, if they want to meet any of the prominent person from the government, then it will also be managed, it will also be exercised. So there is a open communication which is happening, but in a way also we should call it a back channel support or back channel communication as well. And this is something which has been filed by Arun Dhanta as well, who tracks the ruling dispensation for CNN News 18, that one of the prominent leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party, who is Union Minister from the Western UP, he also spoke to the wrestlers at the time when they gathered at the Har Ki Pauri side, which clearly indicates that there is some form of the communication, you call it indirectly, which is happening between the wrestlers and some of the prominent people from the ruling dispensation side as well, to come out over a consensus as to how to take this forward in a respectable manner. Back to you.
Anshul, as far as the Ayodhya administration's decision is concerned, how should one look at it? Purely from the point of view that, Ayodhya is a sensitive place, there is a temple construction going on, you would not want a crowd there, and 11 lakh plus people, as the number was being thrown, could create an administration issue. Should we look at it from that point of view, or are you also seeing political signals being given as far as this denial of permission is concerned?
So definitely the significance is much higher, but yes, on record, the records that have come out is that the administration has said that 11 lakh people gathering at a place in Ayodhya can actually be a very big law and order issue, and hence the permission has not been granted. But the significance, as you rightly mentioned, is way higher than this, because this rally was the show of strength of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, where for the first time he would have gone out in public, along with Shias who would have come out and extended their support towards Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, because since day one we have heard that several allegations have been leveled against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. On the other hand, he since day one.
Welcome back. The controversial and very often tagged as a draconian law, the Sedition law, is back in the news. And that's because we had the Law Commission yesterday put out a report. In fact, they put out the report, they submitted it to the central government amid a discussion and a debate over rethink on this particular law. There has been a chorus for a complete repeal of this particular law from several sections in the country, several opposition parties as well. But the Law Commission of the country has now backed the Sedition law. CNN News 18, in fact, has accessed the Law Commission's report, which suggests retaining the law with certain amendments. The Commission acknowledges concerns about the potential misuse of Section 124A and states that being a colonial legacy is not sufficient grounds for its repeal. However, considering the misuse of the section, the panel has made some recommendations as well to the central government. The report also provides various reasons supporting the need to maintain this particular law. It cites the need to maintain integrity and safety of the country. In fact, the Law Minister just a short while ago came out on Twitter and said this: the Law Commission report on sedition is one of the steps in the extensive consultative process. The recommendations made in the report are persuasive and not binding. Ultimately, the final decision will be taken only after consulting all the stakeholders. Now that we have received the report, is what the Law Minister said, they will hold consultations with all other stakeholders so that an informed and reasoned decision can be made in public interest. What does that hint at? Many suggest that it's not a clear stance of the central government whether they will rethink, make amendments or completely repeal the law. Remember, for 2 years now, the law has been in abeyance. All pending cases under the sedition law, all pending trials are all under abeyance after a Supreme Court order. There are reactions coming to the fore from political parties alike. Listen in.
As a threat upon you, as a threat against freedom of speech, expression, thought and action, which is the essence of democracy. This government has obliquely declared its intent to continue to be selective and partisan in the misuse of this law against political dissent.
Now, they have passed a recommendation or made a recommendation with regard to the sedition law. The sedition law is part of the statutes. The sedition law has been upheld to be correct by the Supreme Court. It's not been moved out of the statutes, nor has it been held ultra vires. Now, the Law Commission has made a recommendation. Whether that recommendation is to be accepted, modified, rejected, these are part of the process of governance, and eventually anything with any law has to be passed by Parliament following the due constitutional process.
Now let's take you through what this panel actually talks about and what the details of this particular report are as far as the panel goes. Here are some of the recommendations that have been made. In fact, here are some of the suggestions that have been given to the central government. The sedition law should be retained, says the panel. It has to be retained with certain amendments though. The allegations of misuse cannot call for its repeal, is the stance of the panel. They also go on to say that the amendments can be made so that the misuse can be limited or to ensure that there is no misuse at all. And for that, there will be a need for specific guidelines. The law is required to safeguard unity and integrity of the country, which is why repealing it would not be safe, is what the panel says. Just because it's a colonial era law, that is no valid ground for repeal, is also something that the law panel has said, because that is an argument that has very often been put forth by several within both the judiciary and the executive of why this law needs to go. Now, how these amendments can be made, how these changes can be made, there are certain recommendations that have been given by this particular commission to the government to incorporate in the law. The panel says more clarity needs to be brought in as far as the interpretation goes, because in the end, it is the officers on ground who have to implement it. There is a need to understand the usage of the law, so there have to be some amount of guidelines as far as that is concerned as well. The police must investigate before filing an FIR. There has to be a preliminary investigation before the complaint is converted into an FIR. That's another recommendation that this panel has given to the government. Other procedural safeguards are also required. What they will be is something that the government will have to ponder on along with other stakeholders. There has to be an issuance of model guidelines by the central government, is also something that this Law Commission has now recommended to the central government. It is up to now the central government and the Law Ministry to take this forward from there. To put this in perspective for us, joining me on this broadcast is Aman Lekhi, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court and former Additional Solicitor General, who's joining us live. Thank you so much, Mr. Lekhi, for speaking with us here on Plain Speak. I'd like to begin by asking you, it was in May 2022 when the Supreme Court had put the sedition law on hold. All pending trials, all cases were put in abeyance. Now, just yesterday, we've had the Law Commission who's come out and said that just because it's colonial era law, that cannot be grounds or the only grounds to repeal the law. Do you agree? Do you concur with that?
Absolutely. There is no question about that. And first of all, I don't subscribe to this description of sedition being colonial, because the assumption is that the law is in the same state as it was when it was applied to Tilak, which is what is current in most discourse around. But this cannot be more incorrect, because the law of sedition as applied in Tilak is different from the law of sedition as contained in 124A, and it was because of the difference between the law as propounded by the Supreme Court and that which was declared by the Federal Court that led to the exclusion of sedition from Article 19. But the point is that despite sedition was not formally there, first public tranquility and then national security, security of state was added, and elements of sedition apply to both, which was Justice Fazil Ali's judgment in Brij Bhushan and Ramesh Thapar, which are affirmed by the First Amendment. Sedition as an offence is absolutely imperative for the purposes of an effective legal system, because it is the state's response to actions meant to overawe the state. And as it's obligatory for the government to maintain order, and order is a condition precedent to civilized existence, any statutory provision dealing with conduct which offends tranquility, consequently security of state, to affect our existence is mandatory and is required. The misuse is something which which requires us to address it, but merely because there is misuse, that doesn't mean that you do away with the use, because the use is also necessary. And for dealing with the abuse, there can be some restraints and checks. Some of the petitions in the Supreme Court also said that some guidelines that we framed. I am not aware of what the Law Commissioner has actually said, but the Law Commissioner has actually mentioned some guidelines, and whatever I have read, the Law Commissioner also says that there can be a preliminary inquiry before the FIR is registered. I think these are healthy checks which can in some way address the question of abuse, but notwithstanding whatever may have happened and the issues with which we are actually concerned, I do not think that doing away with the offence of sedition is necessary or warranted. To deal with abuse, to do away with sedition is like throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Sure, but the allegation of the misuse of this particular law has often been made of how this is used to this is used as a tool to muzzle dissent and any sort of opposition that may come to the fore. This is the kind of law that you would use to clamp that down. Now the Law Commission, one of the recommendations that it has made is also enhancing of punishment in certain cases. How do you think that's going to pan out? Also, I want to ask you this. You know, the panel says that the government should put in place some certain specific guidelines as far as this law concerns. But do you think that's actually going to translate on ground to the police officers who enforce it?
You see, one of the criticism which is endemic is ambiguity. When you deal with legal provisions, you cannot in any way eliminate ambiguity. However, in criminal provisions, some element of precision is required. And precision comes not only from the section but also from the declaration of law around the section. As far as the principles are concerned on which this is to be applied, they are very well settled. No matter how perfect the law is, however, the question of propriety is not something which law can address. The issue which you are raising has got nothing to do with law. The issue you are raising is with the abuse by the executive, and abuse by the executive acting in disregard of the law. Now, when there is a disregard of the law, you have to deal with the body which is disregarding the law and not abandon the law itself. I feel that the necessity of the law is obligatory for the purposes of holding the executive in check, because any misuse of authority or abuse of discretion would be even more unchecked if there is no law. Today, you and I are discussing this because we know the contours of sedition and we know the farthest limit to which sedition can go. To do away with it will not necessarily eliminate arbitrary arrests or misuse of legal provisions other than sedition. So to attribute every kind of misuse to one provision and say that the elimination of this provision would be the panacea to all problems, in my opinion, is not at all sensible.
Sure. Now, we've already seen certain amendments that have been made. Even now, the government says that they would reconsider, that they would rethink. The Law Commission has also come out and said exactly that, that instead of complete repeal, there may be some provisions that are put in place. can those provisions also perhaps look at social media? Because we live in a digital age. Many say that any sort of comment that is made on social media, harmless as many would tag it, satirical one at that, that often becomes a subject of this particular law, and people who put that post then become victims of this particular law. Do you think we can and we should perhaps have certain provisions, detailed ones at that, as far as maybe social media is concerned, and that could be one of the amendments that is made?
You see, we can't have law for everything. No matter how well you craft the law may not be perfect for every situation. You may have a particular contingency in mind for which you may make provision, but life may throw up circumstances that are completely different. So the question is not so much how you draft the law. The question is you understand the purpose of the law. Now there is a purpose behind a provision like 124A, and that purpose has to in some way govern its application. And the losing of that focus is the reason for the problem, and the losing of the focus is not because the law is unclear. Losing of the focus is because the law is consciously disregarded. Now, to disregard the law, you are actually going to deal with an executive which is acting in abuse of authority, and that is a problem altogether different from how 124A is drafted. I personally feel a provision like 124A is an imperative necessity. I do not think keeping it on the statute book is some egregious wrong. I do not in any way join the bandwagon of those who paint the most dire of pictures merely because this provision is there. I don't think it is this provision which is the problem. The problem lies elsewhere. The problem is in the misuse. Now, when you talk about misuse, obviously you are applying it in a manner which is not warranted. But for that, you're not going to do away with the provision altogether, as I'm saying in the beginning. And you cannot possibly have a system or a law which is almost perfect. What do you do? I mean, with the imperfections, do away with law altogether? I mean, there can be a false accusation of rape, there can be a false accusation of theft, there can be a false accusation of defamation. Sure. What do you do with it? Now, each one of them has got some element of ambiguity in it. An accusation can be false, an understanding may be misconceived. You can't possibly say that because of the possibility of abuse, do away with everything. You'll be left with nothing then.
Sure, but let me ask you the bigger question and the bigger picture, Aman Lekhi. Many say that do we need this law at all to begin with? There are other laws that deal with the security aspects like the NSA, the anti-terror law TADA. So do we then need a sedition law at all? That's a question many ask.
You can't compare NSA with this. NSA is preventive, this is punitive. So they operate in different spheres. As far as the UAPA is concerned, that deals with a different facet altogether. It deals with terrorism. Terrorism is defined as such. Please understand, they can be overlap. Because there is overlap, that doesn't necessarily mean that where there is overlap, the offences are identical. Notwithstanding the overlap, the ingredients of the offences can remain distinct. And the ingredients remain distinct, the need for their independent existence remains alive. A punitive provision like 124A is going to apply to non-terrorist situations and to situations which are not preventive. Because it is in quality distinct from both laws that you are talking of. You cannot possibly say that because of the existence of the other laws, this is not required. As I said in the beginning, this is an aspect which deals with criminal conduct having bearings on security of state. And to the extent it is confined to the purpose for which it is intended, the mere fact that there are other statutes dealing with other aspects of a similar case will not necessarily obviate the need to have this in the first instance.
Mr. Lekhi, one of the many reasons that some within the fraternity that you come from or from the opposition as well have been pointing out as to why this law needs to go is also how many countries globally have done away with it, at least 8 to 9 nations if I'm not mistaken, also including the country that perhaps gave us this law. Why should India be any different is what they ask.
The United Kingdom has not given us anything. We have given us ourselves everything. We develop everything. I don't think we are a civilization much older than the United Kingdom. So it's not this as far as this aspect is concerned, because the United Kingdom has also given us, according to your logic, the Indian Penal Code. do away with the Indian Penal Code, many statutes given by the United Kingdom, if you use the word given as it is, that's an absurd argument. The question is, whatever may have been given to us, we have applied it according to our understanding of the law is, adapted it to our circumstances, and made it suitable to our circumstances also. Now we are dealing with it according to the situation as it prevails over here, and we are entitled to independently consider the need of it, no matter what may be happening elsewhere. Even where the United Kingdom is concerned, it is not as if that the elimination of the sedition law in any way disables the government there from dealing with analogous provisions which are covered by the sedition law in India. And whatever the Australians or the English may do will not necessarily govern how I consider my country needs to be governed as, because the situation in my country would warrant laws which are peculiar to its necessities.
Sure.
And I don't need to ape anyone else for the purposes of either making laws or applying them in this country.
Sure. One last question before I let you go, Mr. Lekhi. We've just had the Law Minister tweet about this as well just about 2 hours ago. And he says that the recommendations of this particular panel are not binding. How do you look at that? Do you think that the government is not perhaps taking a clear stand on this?
Well, the government is playing politics quite obviously by not taking a stand, because it doesn't want to be forthright about what it actually believes to avoid political controversy. I personally think on issues like this, whoever takes a point, whether for or against, one has to be clear, and the clarity has to be foremost to the government. Now the government the stance was there in the Supreme Court. It claimed to be reconsidering it, and it's also saying that it's not in any way bound by it. But there needs to be some indication as to what the government actually feels. For the Law Minister to say that we are not bound by it, the question is very well, then what is the Law Minister's own opinion on it? We are entitled to know what their opinion is. The opinion may be a prima facie one, they may be leaning towards one or the other direction. But if for a meaningful interaction, for proper public discourse, for these competing points of view of people holding legitimate views about different aspects of this issue, it would be better if there's more clarity as to where the government stands. Just pushing the buck, delaying taking a decision, or being ambivalent about it is not something I approve.
Sure, we do hope there is some clarity and some better inputs that do come in from the centre's side. We will be awaiting that also from other stakeholders who perhaps will be part of this consultative process. But Raman Lekhi, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18 on this edition of Plain Speak. With that, we're shifting focus to the other big story that has made headlines for the last few days, the last few weeks in fact. And it is the fight between the wrestlers and the Wrestling Federation of India's boss. Members of the 1983 Cricket World Cup winning team have issued a statement urging athletes not to make hasty decisions. They express hope that their grievances will be heard and resolved. In the meantime, CNN News 18 has accessed the 2 FIRs that were filed by the Delhi police against Brijbhushan Saran Singh, which reveal shocking revelations. There are 7 complainants that have been listed, including a minor in these 2 FIRs. They detail and narrate the ordeal that they went through. It details demands for sexual favors and alleged cases of molestation against this boss of the Wrestling Federation. Top BJP source, in fact, has told us that the party's central leadership is unhappy with the kind of comments that he's been making in the media, but that hasn't stopped him.
और आप लोगों को भी, पूरी मीडिया को, पूरे अयोध्या को, जन जन को और देश के भी, मतलब कोई प्रांत नहीं बचा है और कोई जात नहीं बचा है, सब ने हमें आशीर्वाद दिया और रैली को हमने सुरक्षा कारणों से कह सकते हैं हमने स्थगित किया है, और लेकिन फिर भी हम स्वागत करते हैं जिन्होंने मेरा साथ दिया। आपको चलिए अब हो गया, अब हो गया, अब जांच चल रही है।
राजनीति बिल्कुल नहीं है, वहां पर एफआईआर दर्ज हो चुकी है, अब वो पुलिस के अधिकार क्षेत्र में है, इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग एजेंसीज के अधिकार क्षेत्र में है। और देखिए, मेरा अगाध विश्वास है इस देश की न्याय प्रणाली पर। मैं जानती हूं कि इन्वेस्टिगेटिव प्रोसेस के बाद जुडिशियल प्रोसेस अपना जो है एक टर्न जरूर लेगा, एक नेचुरल कोर्स जरूर लेगा, लेकिन यहां तो बात एफआईआर से बहुत आगे बढ़ चुकी है। ये तो मामला कचहरी में उलझा हुआ है। मुझे आप ये बताइए, क्रिमिनल लॉ की पहली कड़ी क्या है कि एक व्यक्ति विशेष के खिलाफ कोई भी जुर्म नहीं होता, पूरे देश के खिलाफ वो जुर्म, समाज के खिलाफ वो जुर्म माना जाता है। इसका मतलब इसकी प्रोसिक्यूशन केवल एक पब्लिक प्रोसिक्यूटर के हाथ है। आप अगर पब्लिक प्रोसिक्यूटर की नियुक्ति ही नहीं करेंगे तो वो केस आगे कैसे बढ़ेगा?
9 तारीख को हम अपना निर्णय लेंगे। बच्चों को हम लेकर जाएंगे वहीं जंतर मंतर पे, ये तय हुआ कि उनको वहां बैठाएंगे। पुलिस रोकेगी, क्या करेगी वो उसका है, लेकिन उससे पहले सरकार इसका निर्णय ले, उसकी गिरफ्तारी करे और बातचीत जो कुछ होगा और होती रहेगी। रेसलर का ये है कि हमने आपको 5 दिन का टाइम दिया था और अभी हुआ नहीं कुछ। हम बहुत टेंशन में, कुछ भी हादसा हो सकता है। 5, 7, 10 आदमी जो भी खाप पंचायत के समाज के लोग होंगे, उसमें सामाजिक लोग भी होंगे, ये नहीं कि सब खाप पंचायत के लोग होंगे या किसी संगठन से होंगे।
Let's now get you a quick roundup of all that's made news. Let's get you that in brief, and starting with Delhi's Chief Minister and the national convener of the Aam Aadmi Party, Arvind Kejriwal, who met with Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren today. He was seeking support against the centre's ordinance on control over administrative services in the national capital. Remember, Arvind Kejriwal, along with Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann, just yesterday met with Tamil Nadu CM M.K. Stalin. Delhi police has recovered the murder weapon which was used by Sahil to kill a 16-year-old minor here in the national capital. Police are also trying to get evidence from the mobile phone of the victim. The team has recovered the Instagram chat of both the accused and the victim, and the investigation is continuing. In the backdrop of guarantees promised by the Karnataka Congress before assembly elections, the state government has now implemented them. Chief Minister Sudhanshu today chaired a cabinet meeting and a final decision was taken on the implementation of all those guarantees. The Chief Minister has said that all 5 guarantees will be rolled out this financial year itself. He further assured that all promises will be delivered without any bias. A day after Union Home Minister Amit Shah's appeal to surrender arms and ammunition before Manipur police, around 140 weapons were submitted at different places in violence-hit northeastern state. Remember, yesterday, Union Home Minister Amit Shah warned of strict action against those who failed to surrender their weapons and announced that combing operations would begin soon. Eco-tourists in Indonesia are discovering the benefits of mangroves as the country pushes to conserve and replant coastal areas that have been completely decimated by human activity. Mangroves are vital for megacity Jakarta, which is one of the fastest sinking cities in the world.
Eco-tourists in Indonesia are discovering the benefits of mangroves as the country pushes to conserve and replant coastal areas that have been decimated by human activity. Mangroves are vital for megacity Jakarta, which is one of the fastest sinking cities in the world, and where the trees play a vital role in holding off rising tides. As the sounds of the bustling city echo in the distance, Connie Sihombing paddles her way through the calm waters of a mangrove reserve park. Despite living in Jakarta, Connie says she never knew Angke Kapuk Nature Reserve Park existed within city limits. The sanctuary makes up just a sliver of Indonesia's near 16,000 square mile mangrove area spread along the nation's coasts.
Shifting focus to the United States, where President Joe Biden took a tumble during the Air Force Academy graduation. This happened in Colorado after shaking hands with hundreds of cadets from the class of 2023. Biden took a stumble while he was returning to his seat. I'm leaving you with that report.
Shut. Mr. President, thank you for joining us today.
You're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. 3 days and 3 controversies have emerged from Rahul Gandhi's visit to the United States. After claiming democracy was in danger and opposition voices being silenced, Rahul Gandhi has now said that the Indian Union Muslim League, that is IUML, its ally in Kerala is a secular party. Rahul Gandhi's stand sparked a sharp reaction from the BJP, which has accused the Grand Old Party of having a Jinnah mindset, adding that compulsions of appeasement politics have forced the Congress to support the party. The BJP continues to state that IUML is the same political entity that was behind partition. The Congress, meanwhile, has hit back and accused the BJP of expressing its political frustrations for not being able to make inroads in Kerala, adding that the BJP